Hello and welcome to Slovenia. The biggest and best IFSC season in history is coming to an end. This is our last final of 2016. I'm Charlie Bosco. I've got Kaminda Jarzibiak alongside me, and we're live in Kranj. Nestled into a beautiful mountain valley just north of Slovenia's capital Ljubljana, Kranj lies at the confluence of the Kokra and Sava rivers and is home to 37,000 people. The city's life story is long and varied, with evidence of settlements existing here in prehistoric times. This evening, however, there are 16 climbers lining up to add their name to Kranj's history. And of course, the female overall title for the lead has been decided. Janja Gambra is already the winner of that, but all to play for in the men's. Before we discuss any further, we will show you the women's start list. As the climbers, the observations underway here in Kranj. And there we have it, Yuka Kobayashi, her last ever World Cup. Same with Urban Primožić, and they both made it into the finals, so the lesson of that story is just announce your retirement and you make it into the finals. Matteo Becerra will join, as will Akira Noguchi, Jane Kim, Hannah Schubert, her first final, and then a familiar trio, Mina Markovic, Anna Verhoeven and Janja Gambra. And we'll just check out the men's start list. So Yuki Hada, the only Japanese climber. Two Slovenians, firstly Urban Primožić, also Domen Skofic further down the order. Also in the final, Dimitri Fakiryanov, Sebastian Halenka, back from a bit of a break and an injury. Roman de Grange, Stefano Gisolfi, winner of the last World Cup in Xiamen. And also Jakob Schubert in the final for the 10th time here in Kranj. He's never missed the final, and he hasn't missed a final anywhere for 2 years in lead. So, Commander, just for people that didn't see our coverage in Xiamen, the speed climbing, just introduce yourself and tell us what your involvement with the climbing world is.
Well, I have the great privilege of being the manager of the Canadian Open lead and speed climbing teams. I also run a climbing gym on the west coast of Canada in central Saanich on Vancouver Island. And
speaking of Team Canada, we can't forget Sean McComb.
Oh.
So close, 9th place. Just tell us how he is and maybe why he wasn't 100% yesterday.
Well, Sean has one of the strongest mental games, I think, in the business. And in the last, it's been a long season for him, and he spent some time having fun in Magic Woods before here. I think there is a risk between having fun and performing well, and sometimes your lead instinct is dulled when you spend time bouldering. That said, bouldering is outdoors in Magic Woods is excellent. I should also note that the route yesterday was thought by a number of competitors to be pretty easy for a semi-final route, and he missed the finals by a plus off the hold before the finish. So it was still a remarkable performance and not at all a bad way to end the year for him.
No, it was a great semi-final yesterday. And the only reason I ask is because someone asked for our predictions, and I said at the start of the broadcast in the semi-final, I think Sean's going to win this competition. So I thought I'd just pick your brains about why I got it so wrong.
I had the same instinct, and that's where my money was as well.
Okay, I don't feel so bad now. So just to remind you, the women's competition already decided Janja Gambra will win the overall. Domen Skofic, Jakob Schubert and Roman de Grange, the three men aiming for the win in the men's. After the conclusion of the final today, we will also have the podium for Kranj, the overall for the lead, and the combined category across all three categories of the IFSC. So we're going to have 6 podiums at the end of today. Don't tune out. And looking at the men's competition, we don't have Sean, but we've got Domen, who's, I guess, a clear favourite. He's ahead.
Yeah.
How do you think today is going to go amongst the men?
Well, the thing that stands out for me is that Domen, Dimitri, and Sebastian Halenka are from the same age group. They competed against each other all their lives in the European youth circuit, and it's nice to see all three of them, and they're often on the podium together, back in the top of the open circuit. I'm really excited to see how those three do.
Yeah, just to let you know, Stefano Gisolfi, Jakub Schubert and Domin Skofic have been tied in every round here in Kranj. So if they're tied in the final on their score, it will come down to time. We hope it doesn't come down to time, but keep an eye on the clock on your screen just in case. So the climbers are being ushered off the stage now. That's the end of the observation period. As ever, trying to grab a last 5 seconds looking at the route. And I believe that we have some sort of circus show. It wasn't very well described, but
that looks like a climbing silk hanging down.
Okay, well, we're going to shut down our light, and apparently we have to be quiet as well, but we shall see. I don't know what the next 5 minutes is going to hold, but I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you in a second.
Takole sledi še uradna otvoritev tekme. Upam, da ste pripravljeni na šoke tole leta v Kranju. Tukaj bo zdaj atraktivna otvoritev lebdečih akrobacij, izvedba gospodična Dana z lepo pesmijo Come Love. Točko omogoča zlati sponzor dogodka svetovnega pokala v Kranju, to je Adriatic Slovenika.
Sam mislio kako su ga spustili, to je napravio.
Tole, Dana Augustin, Šolana.
So, if you just tuned in and were wondering what you were watching, you are watching the IFSC lead final from here in Kranj. That was a 5-minute acrobatic display that the local organisers treated us to. You don't see that every day.
I have no sound. I can't hear you.
Okay, don't worry. Commander Jazibiak is alongside me. We will sort her sound out in just a second. In the meantime, I'll run you through the starting list. In the women's competition, we've got Yuka Kobayashi, Matilda Becerra, Aki Noguchi, Jane Kim, Hannah Schubert, her first final, Mina Markovic in front of a home crowd, Anak Verhoeven, and Janja Garnbret, who has already won the overall title for 2016. And in the men's competition, we've got Yuki Hada, Urban Primozic, his last ever World Cup, Dmitry Fakiryanov, Sebastian Halenka, Roman de Grange, Stefano Gasolfi, Jakub Schubert, and Domen Skofic. Commander Jazibiak, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Fantastic. Yes, so we were just treated to, I don't really know what to call it, but it was very impressive. I certainly couldn't do it, that's for sure. Core strength, she probably climbs about 9B. But we're ready for the competition to get underway, just about. There's our wall here in Kranj. Just to let you know that we are getting our pictures from Slovenian TV. We're not our usual broadcast team here in the IFSC. We take our pictures from Slovenian TV, and we're apparently also going to have some interviews in Slovenian. So if we suddenly get an interview interrupting the coverage in Slovenian, we do have some spare cameras and we will cut to them, but apologies if you do get 5 seconds of an interview in Slovenian every now and then. We'll try and cut away as quickly as we can. There's a few replays here. This is not live, this was when the climbers were doing their observation. Commander, you're a climbing coach. Do you try and teach the climbers what they do during the observation? Do you try and give them tactics, or is this just something they develop over experience?
We definitely try and give them tactics. One of them is creating really good memorization skills. We all know in sport that if you can see something and imagine yourself doing it, it's almost as good as doing it yourself. And so in an on-site format, if you can memorize a sequence, it makes a big difference. The challenge is trying to figure out the cruxes of the route.
There we go. As I say, we're getting them from Slovenian TV, so if you don't like the pictures you're getting, please direct your comments to sloventv.com. Virtually every Slovenian I've met looks pretty tough, so do so at your own risk. I'll be very happy with any pictures they give us. Thank you very much. There's the wall. The women's route is on the right and the men's on the left. The women's is yellow holds pretty much all the way. Blue volumes to the top, but yeah, yellow holds, whereas the men's is start out on green volumes with black holes, and then it carries on green volumes, but also yellow holes, somewhat confusingly. But by that stage, it's cut well away from the women's route, so it should be pretty obvious which is which, even from a distance.
I'm very curious about the top half of the men's route. I think the trick on the men's route is going to get to those turquoise or green holds, and that's an endurance test, and then once you're actually there, that's when the competition is going to start, I think.
That is quite unusual, by the way. We've just seen a shot from isolation. Normally the cameras aren't allowed back there. It's a rare treat here in Kranj.
It is one of the few venues where that happens, and it's definitely something that the athletes aren't necessarily comfortable with, but if they're focused enough, then they can just tune them out.
You can see they're absolutely sold out. There's no tickets available. Every inch of the hall taken up. Not just the seats, as well as people standing in the aisles. We've just about got room to stand here. But yeah, that is athlete isolation. If you haven't watched climbing before in bouldering and league climbing for the semi-finals and finals, climbers go into isolation so they can't see the route before the official observation.
I'm really excited for Yuki. This is, it's been his year. He's finally medaled at the World Youth Climbing Championships, a silver medal after 4 times coming in the, I think, 5th, 4th, and 8th spot.
Yes, Yuka Kobayashi will be climbing shortly in the women's. Meanwhile, we've got Yuki Hada in the men's.
Yuki.
No, you did say Yuki. Oh. But we also have Yuka in the women's. No, you were absolutely right. So yeah, Yuki Hara of Japan, only 19 years old. And our first chance to have a look at the men's route. As I mentioned, it starts out on black holds and green volumes, and then it goes on to yellow holds and green volumes. Don't forget, if you want to get in touch, we are live again. Feels like a long time since we were live back in Paris over 2 months ago. We've been in China since then, but unfortunately no live stream. But we are live today. Hashtag IFSC WC if you wish to get in touch. And as I say, keep an eye on that clock on the top left of your screen. We do have 3 of the male climbers tied going into the final, and it will come down to time if they all get the same score. The 3 climbers who are tied: Stefano Ghisolfi, Jakub Schubert and Domen Skofic. Just quickly to give you a bit of an idea about the overall. If Domen Skofic claims 6th or better today, he is the overall lead World Cup champion for 2016, regardless of what anyone else does. He can be caught by Jakub Schubert and Romain de Grange if Domen finishes lower than 6th. Let's just see how we go though before we get too worried about permutations. We'll watch Yuki. You were just saying Yuki's had a really good breakthrough year. Certainly not the only Japanese climber you could say that about. He's had a really good 2016.
He has. I was very happy for him to finally be on a podium. Oh.
It's a shame for Yuki Hara.
It is his first finals at a World Cup, and I think at this level, your first time experience is what you're here to get.
Yeah, you can see they just missed with the right foot, and then his weight had already shifted by then. So the left slipped as well. Nice dynamic style. So we haven't had a chance to look at the upper section of this men's route. It does get much steeper than what we saw there. Let's have another look. Looked as if he just shifted around on the left foot. Just lots purchase. There's Yuki. Doesn't look too upset. Next up we'll have Urban Primozic. Now, I spoke to him yesterday. There's Sebastian Halenka. He'll be out 4th. I spoke to Urban yesterday. This is his last ever World Cup. And he gave a really interesting and honest interview, which you can see on the IFSC Facebook page. He basically said he'd lost his motivation to train, and that happens. I think even recreational climbers can identify with that, but he climbed superbly in the qualifiers and the semis, and he's going out on a bang. Last ever climb in a World Cup, and I think the crowd know it. They're right behind him. So Urban beginning up the lower section. So as I say, black holds on green volumes, and then a section of just black holds, and then we're into green volumes, yellow holds. Just to give you a bit of an idea, the yellow holds start about halfway up this wall here in Kranj at the very steepest section.
There might be some advantage to those who have climbed on this wall before. You can see that there are features in the wall that don't change, little in-cut portions for foot placements and hand placements, and if you are familiar with the wall, you have a better understanding of how to use them to your advantage, and similarly what not to use.
Yeah, this wall here in Kranj, it doesn't see a lot of traffic in between the World Cups, and it doesn't really change, so as you say, the climbers get to know pretty much every centimetre of it.
I have had route setters tell me that they've come here to set for a World Cup before and found that the routes from the previous year were still on the wall.
So, Urban, only 24 years old. He's continuing his studies and entering the real world of work. I can't help thinking he might regret retiring from competitions. Work is not all it's cracked up to be.
I find, I wonder how definitive the decision to a decision to retire, I think, can always be revisited at 24. Oh.
And that is okay, again, that's a disappointing attempt from Urban. The crowd appreciates it. You can see here just how many people there are. Let's have another look. He got up to the yellow holes. As I say, that's just below the steepest part of the wall.
Oh.
And he had pretty much the best part of that hole, but didn't have the index finger on it. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but couldn't quite hang on. He climbed really strongly in the semi-finals. That is a shame.
It's hard to see his body position too from the camera angle, so I don't know whether he was aligned correctly to make use of the best part of that hold.
I hear a rumour that we're going to be able to speak to Urban, so stay tuned, hopefully we can. So 2 climbers out already, Yukihara and Urban Primozic. Both off early on the route. And I believe we haven't got Urban. Urban, can you hear me? And I'm afraid... Urban, sorry, I can't hear you. Let's try that again. Hey, Urban, how was it climbing your last ever World Cup in your hometown? Just tell us your emotions right now. And on the section of the route that you did do, what was the climbing like? What were the moves like? Well, we enjoyed watching you. Congratulations on a fantastic year and a fantastic career, and good luck in the future. We really enjoyed watching you. That was Urban just saying that the moves are quite technical, quite tenuous, not great for the feet. Interesting stuff. But satisfied with his climb and enjoyed being in the final. You were just saying then about Urban's decision, I believe, before we cut to our interview.
I just think that 24 years old is still quite young for men in climbing, and I take it as I'm retiring for now.
Yeah, the Olympics, of course, is a pretty big carrot. We shall see. So here's Dimitri. Climbed really well in China, in Xiamen, already 6 weeks ago. Comes into this in good form. Didn't quite look 100% in the qualifiers, but close to his best in the semi-finals. We did, of course, have 6 tops in the qualifiers yesterday, and in the semi-finals, excuse me. Dimitri being one of them. And it was interesting, I was chatting to one of our route setters, Jan Zibraniak, and he was saying that Dimitri managed to rest on some holes where the route setting team could barely get their weight off the rope. Which gives you an idea of the strength of the climbers, but also the difference in conditions and lifestyle.
Dimitri also is known for technical prowess as well as finger skills, finger strength.
Yeah, as I say, our route setting team, they're pretty strong. If they can't even get their weight off the rope and Dimitri rests it really does give you an idea of how strong he is. I don't know what's in the water in Russia, but it seems to work for him and Rustam Gelmanov. But actually, we were just chatting earlier on before we came on air about the difference in lifestyle, I guess, between route setters and climbers. Just tell me as politely as you can what you think the difference is.
I'm hoping none of the route setters who work for me are listening. I think that route setters sometimes believe themselves to do exactly what climbers do, not realizing that a lot of their repetitive motions are different and cause extra strain on their body. And it doesn't surprise me that while they climb hard, they have greater pressure than the climbers greater physical pressure.
Let's just keep an eye on Dimitri here. He's on the move that we just saw Urban come off. He tries to skip it. And the same outcome as Urban. So none of the climbers yet even making it into the roof.
I was previewing the route earlier with a climber I work with, Kai Leitner of the United States, and where they are is one of the first sections where he was confused about the quality of the volume. Turns out he was correct.
So we see there Dimitri and Urban tied on 20. Dimitri takes the lead on count back to the semi-final. 5 climbers still to come. Out next it'll be Sebastian Halenka, who we managed to grab a quick word with yesterday on the live stream after his semi-final climb. He had it. Here he comes. I just let the DJ turn the music down slightly before I resume. Yes, Sebastian, he had an injury to the pad of one of his fingers. I think it was his index finger. And he's back safe and sound from that. Seems to be at full strength. Climbed really well in the qualifiers, really well in the semis. Looking really strong here in Kranj.
He made a clear decision not to go to the China leg of the World Cup this year as a way to rest and reset. And I think that was a good decision given his performance so far. We have a question about the next World Cup in Central Saanich. I would like that to be as soon as possible, but realistically, what we are focusing on is hosting the World Youth Climbing Championships in 2018, and hopefully a series of World Cups before then. But thanks for the question.
A bit like yesterday when we had a question on Twitter and someone said, I live in San Diego, will there be any World Cups near me? And I said, well, I hope so. I feel a bit like that with Central Saanich.
One of the challenges for us is that we're in the process of a major expansion, and that is taking up a lot of our volunteer time, and we are a not-for-profit volunteer organization.
Thanks for the question there, Tomek. Don't forget, hashtag IFSCWC if you want to get in touch with us this evening. Sebastian, no issues so far. We spoke to Urban, and he said that the moves are quite tenuous, quite technical, but Sebastian's looked pretty solid at this stage. Should add, though, that so did Dimitri and Urban. It's clearly going off the lower section of the wall and onto the horizontal roof that's the problem. But he looks very certain in his movements. We saw him going through his rehearsal at the foot of the wall.
Oh, wow.
That was the move that Urban was struggling with. No such trouble for Sebastian. So that's an early lead for Sebastian. Able to rest on the hold that Dimitri couldn't hold. I should add that Dimitri went from a lot lower down. Yeah, his decision to skip China and train and recover from his finger injury looking very much vindicated at this early stage. So this is our first look. We're off the black holds and onto the yellow holds of the top section. When we saw Sebastian rehearsing the moves earlier on, you could see him, it looked like he was really miming this next move on the undercling. We'll see. But I was pretty sure if I was following his actions correctly.
I'd say this is another section where there's a few variables that I can see 2 different ways through. And he's obviously needs to make a quick decision and stick to it at this juncture once he's recovered.
He also topped the route yesterday in the semi-finals. So 6 men. So for Dmitry, for Kiryanov onwards, all the men topped the semi-final route. And here he is on the undercling. We saw him, I'm pretty sure I saw him rehearsing this, kind of pumping, ready for the next move. There we go. So he's now on to the second series of green volumes. A dozen or so green volumes that lead all the way to the top of this route. The crowd appreciate what they see. Looking really in control here, Sebastian. Looking like a man who's just had a good training block. He's back down a couple of moves just to recover. From here, there's not much resembling a rest for at least 3 or 4 moves, and even after that, it's only the poorest of rests.
I think one would be well advised to push through to the end of the route from here, so it makes sense that he'd rest there.
The only potential rest I think maybe is on the next yellow bolt on just at the top of your screen, but as I say, the feet are poor. It's not a great position, and that's about as dynamic as belays get. Sebastian touched the ground there. He looks pretty happy with that performance. Back in the World Cups, back in finals,
and hopefully no blood on his fingers.
No, he was really suffering with that injury. I think it was in Chamonix he picked it up, possibly Vila, I don't remember. It troubled him for pretty much the rest of the European season. There we go, precision belaying. Hopefully we'll be able to grab a word with Sebastian. You can see there, it was obviously a bit harder than he made it look, because he certainly didn't look as if he was taxed at the time. See there's Hannah Schubert.
It's nice to see a brother and sister in finals, Hannah and Jacob.
There you go, Sebastian Halenki, 37, well clear of the competition at this stage. But still about 5 meters short of the top of the route. And I believe we can speak to Sebastian. Sebastian, are you there? It's great to have you. We'll wait 5 seconds. Okay, sorry about that. The DJ turns the music up very loud at the start of every climb, and I couldn't hear you. It was great to watch. It looks as if your decision not to go to China and just to train is really paid off. Do you think you read the route correctly? If someone is going to top this route, what do you think will be the key? They need to climb quickly, or is it a case of stamina? What do you think is the key? That sounds like a recipe for success. Sebastian, thanks for talking to us.
Wow.
That was Sebastian Halenki, and I was hoping we'd then be able to turn our attention to Romain de Grange, because Sebastian Halenki was just saying, I think this climb will suit somebody with good finger strength and forearm endurance. You would imagine that is a textbook description of Romain de Grange. And then just as we were about to pay attention to him, he slips off the route. Let's have another look. It's the same move as Urban.
Yeah, but he missed the sweet spot on the hold. He missed the tick mark.
He missed the key section. I thought that was going to be perfect timing where Sebastian told us, you know, how this route would pretty much suit Romain Grosjean, and we would cut to him, but no such joy for Romain Grosjean. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to describe him. We thought I thought we'd see him quite high in this route. There's Sebastian. So Romain Grosjean off at the same point as Urban Primožič and Dmitry Fikiryanov. Here's Stefano Ghisolfi. Won the last World Cup in Xiamen. I'm just being told that we might be having some issues with the sound. I hope you can hear the interviews we're conducting with the athletes. We will check. Remember, of course, we are getting our pictures today from Slovenian TV. So I do apologise if we are having a few technical issues. We're going to speak to their director in the truck out the back of the wall. Hopefully you can hear us and see the action, because we've got our last World Cup winner, Stefano Ghisolfi, on the wall. Hard to believe he is the third to last climber. Remember, of course, the climbers come in reverse order of the semi-final results. So if you come top in the semi-final, you climb last in the final. So Stefano Ghisolfi qualified third out of the semi-final in the form of his life. He can absolutely win here in Kranj. I should say that now Romain Grosjean is not going to be the overall champion for 2016. He needed to win this event and hope that Doman Skofic was lower than 6th. So he won't be winning, and he won't be overall World Cup champion for 2016, Romain Grosjean. However, the two climbers after Stefano, Jakub Schubert and Doman Skofic, they can both be crowned champion. For now, though, we focus on Stefano.
He's a great all-around climber, able to combine some technical skill with also some explosive power and speed. It makes always for an entertaining climber to watch.
Yeah, as I mentioned, very good year so far. Had a couple of really near misses. Vilar, Briançon and Arco, he got 9th place, almost the hardest place to finish, just outside the final. But then he won in Xiamen. Also got a second on our first World Cup of the year in the lead in Chamonix. And he goes with the left hand instead of the right. No, changed his mind. You can see how much that's taking out of him.
Oh.
And he is off as well. So 3 climbers off at that transition into the roof. The only person we've seen go through there is Sebastian Halenke.
And that is a podium for Sebastian Halenke, which...
I was about to say that guarantees it, but at least a place on the podium. And with only 2 climbers still to come, Jakub Schubert and Doman Skofic, we should probably talk overall standings in the lead World Cups for this year. So Jakub Schubert, he needs to win here. Just keep an eye on the score. There we go. Sebastian Halenke, first person through the roof, 37. Yeah, Jakub Schubert, he needs to win here and hope that Doman comes lower than 6th. Doman, meanwhile, if he finishes top 6, he's the overall champion for 2016. Stefano, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just tell us how the route was. It looked incredibly difficult.
Yes, the first part of the route was really difficult, for me at least. It's a little slab with the edge, it was not so easy. And then I just lose my feet and fall down. I didn't climb so well.
And just tell us that the move where you fell, did you have the body position wrong? What do you think happened?
I think I just had some doubt, so I hesitated and then I went too late. When in that part I think you have to run fast And this style of route, you have to run fast and climb fast as you can.
Okay, well, before we let you go, what are your plans for the winter, and will we see you back next year?
Yes, my plan for the winter is climbing in Spain, in Catalonia. Before I take a little rest after there is also the Italian Championship in next week, and then I will rest 2 weeks, and then I will climb on rocks.
Okay, well enjoy, and we'll see you in 2017.
Okay, see you.
So Jakob Schubert on the wall. Never missed a final here in Kranj. Hasn't missed a lead final since 2014. Needs to win here if he wants to win the overall title for this year, though. We'll be seeing his sister climbing later. We were actually racking our brains. Here's one for the climbing geeks out there, and I hear that on the internet, that maybe a few of you, has there been a brother-sister combination in a lead World Cup final?
Well, I think I know the answer, but I'll hold off and see what the interwebs comes up with.
Okay. I geeked out yesterday, so I'll save my geekiness. I'm going to keep it under control today. So Jakob's at the move now that stopped 3 climbers, and again he tries with the left hand but doesn't like it. Just what we saw from Stefano.
Oh!
And Jakob also off. So Domen Skofic will walk out knowing that he is already 2016 World Cup champion. It will be Slovenia topping the podium in both men's and women's. Let's have another look at Jakob. Really awkward clip. So we just have a look at the results.
Oh.
Sebastian Halling is still leading the way, 37. Only 1 climber still to go. We might not see the very upper section of this route. And we see there tied, 4 climbers on 20. Of course, in lead climbing, if you are new to it, the name of the game is to get as high as you can. Your score is the number of the hold you reach. So Sebastian Halling reached hold number 37, but 4 climbers on the hold number 20. Here comes Domen. I'm sure he knows that he is already the champion. From the amount of time that Roman and Jakob were out, he must know surely they didn't top the route. Who knows? And we got Jakob Schubert. Jakob, do you need 1 more minute? You look tired.
I'm not tired, dude. I climbed like 10 moves.
Just tell us about that move to the yellow volume. We've seen 4 climbers fall there. It looks like a really difficult move.
Well, it's basically the purple hold is just really bad, and maybe the route setters underestimated how bad the conditions are in here. It's like really, really hot to climb in here, and you have like really greasy hands. And that's why that move felt like so difficult, because the purple hold is like so slippery, and you kind of need to hit the yellow hold right.
Do you think you hit the hold right? It looked as if you were pretty much perfect.
No, I think I kind of missed it, but also I kind of like lost my tension on the foothold. The foothold is kind of slopey too. So yeah, but I don't know. I underestimated the move a little as well, I think.
Yeah, it's certainly proving to be the crux so far. Thank you for speaking to us, and we'll watch Domen.
All right, thanks.
That was a not especially happy looking Jakob Schubert. Just watch Domen, already World Cup champion 2016, heading towards that move, and Jakob was just saying that he thinks he got the hold about 90% right, not far off right. Let's just see if Domen can get it before I talk any more about Jakob. See him lining it up again, tries with the left hand. Nobody's made, and again drops off it and decides he should go with the right after all. The crowd tells you everything you need to know. Doman's nailed it, but Jakob Schubert, yeah, he was just explaining that perhaps the route setters slightly underestimated how hot and humid it would be in here in Kranj. He said that although he was not far off right with the move, he didn't get it perfect, and he perhaps slightly underestimated it. Doman Skofic got it, but he was stopped a couple of moves further on. He'll be second, and that man will win. Doman Skofic, we've barely had time to cut from our interviews and onto the wall, and the climbers are already on their way down.
Is this Sebastian Halenke's first win?
I believe it is, yeah. Off the top of my head, I'll check in just a second, but I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. So let's have another look. Doman got it right.
He's got the right body position there.
Yeah, Jakob said he didn't quite have it perfect, and it cost him. Well, it's interesting. Impressive from Domen, because, as I said, I'm sure he knew when he came out that Roman and Jakob hadn't won the competition, and therefore he was lead World Cup champion for 2016, but he gave 100%, absolutely fought that route, but the route set has certainly given the climbers a challenge today. And that is one very happy Sebastian Halenke.
I think his first World Cup podium.
First of all, thank you so much, and thank you all the drivers for cheering.
We're going to confirm the results for you. And there we see it, Sebastian Halenke, first World Cup win. Doman Skofic, he's second. He only needed 6th or better to claim the title for the overall for 2016. Stefano Gasolfi follows up a win in Xiamen with a 3rd here. Jakob Schubert just misses the podium. Dmitry Fakiryanov, Urban Primozic, Roman de Grange and Yuki Hada make up the rest of the 8. And in 32 minutes by my watch, the men's final has come and gone. Extraordinary here in Kranj. I mean, yesterday general feeling was that the route was perhaps a bit too easy. Certainly couldn't be levelled at the route setters today. And you can still see, you can't miss the mohawk, can you? Sebastian finding more people to hug and shake hands with down the front of the wall.
I'm a little disappointed because I was hoping to see people get through to the Hello Kitty turquoise hold higher up on the wall.
Yeah, if we pan out, you will see what Commander is talking about. There we go.
Oh, I am so happy for him.
Well, judging by the fact that Urban Primozic said he was retiring, then made the final, Sebastian Halenke took a break, then won the competition. The key is to either announce your retirement or only do every second World Cup. That's clearly what you need to do.
I wouldn't underestimate the toll that the entire circuit takes on athletes. By the time they're here, they are absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, I know how they feel, actually.
Me as well.
Yeah, I think for most people in the IFSC, hitting the wall feels like a distant memory. I think I look over my shoulder, I can kind of see the wall disappearing behind me. But it's
absolutely.
Enthusiasm is keeping everyone going. But we got treated to extremely fast final there for the men. Hopefully we get a bit more action from the women and see a bit more of the route. And I believe we're going to be able to speak to Sebastian Halenke for a second time. He was pretty enthusiastic the first time. I hope we can contain him long enough to chat to him this time. He is now a World Cup winner. Come close a few times. A few podium places. Sebastian, can you hear me?
Oh yes, I hear you very well.
And you were very enthusiastic 10 minutes ago. How do you feel now?
Well, I mean, I cannot even describe my feelings at all. It's my ever first victory in a World Cup. I mean, I did so much in order to do this. I really trained hard for that competition. But when I fell at the place where I fell, I had no idea what it was going to be enough for. I was really hoping that it would be for sure enough for a podium, but that it was even enough for a victory. Wow, I have no words. I'm so unbelievable happy, and to be honest, I don't really get it yet what actually just happened.
And when you were watching the other climbers, what was it like? Were you becoming more nervous when you thought, oh, I'm guaranteed a podium? And then when Domin came out, what were you thinking? What was your emotion?
Well, my emotions, they were like going up and down. I mean, when I saw the first few climbers, I was like, okay, it's looking really good. But the later the climbers came out, I was like getting freaking nervous in some way. Like my heartbeat was like almost uncountable anymore. And in between I was, I don't know, almost close to cry, I think, for satisfaction and nervosity. And yeah, it's hard to describe, but I'm just so unbelievable happy.
Well, huge congratulations, Sebastian Hallenk, a World Cup winner.
Thank you so much.
That was Sebastian. You didn't really need to hear the audio. I hope we're no longer having any problems with the audio from the interviews, but I think if you could just see the images, you probably get the message. That's a pretty happy German climber, absolutely delighted, and as he said, worked so hard to get that win, and it's paid off. This is a replay of the ladies' observation earlier. Kia Noguchi, of course, climbing in the lead final. We're used to seeing her a bit more in bouldering, but she has looked absolutely superb here in Kranj. I would not be at all surprised to see her on the podium here in a league competition.
The women's field is so incredibly strong right now.
I said this yesterday in the semi-finals. I do think that 2017, especially women's lead, could well be the most competitive of the disciplines, because you've got Ashima Shireshi, who's going to start competing in Senior World Cups. We've got the battle will be ongoing with Janja Gambra, Anna Verhoeven. We've got Kia Noguchi, who's, you would have thought in the latter stages of her career, but suddenly looking really strong in lead. I think it's going to be the most competitive discipline of 2017.
And what I find amazing about the Youth A women's category in particular is if Ashima wasn't in there, you'd then be talking about every other strong girl that's in the top 8 in that category. Brooke Rabutu, Jani Goraj from Croatia. There's just such a depth of talent.
Yeah, of course, we haven't got some of the youth women here. Margot Hayes hasn't come here to Kranj. Brooke Rabutu, who we saw climbing well in Guangzhou.
I think Brooke and Ashima won't age in until January 26, 2017.
For the
World Cup, yeah.
Yeah, but we're going to see Ashima.
We'll see them hopefully,
yeah.
hopefully soon.
So here's Yuka, final World Cup for her. 2001, her first international competition. 15th year. 2003 first World Cup. She's been at it a while, and I think just about everyone was delighted to see her make it into the final in her final ever World Cup. So let's see, 32 minutes was all it took for the men's final. That's got to be some sort of record, and another one for the climbing geeks out there.
I think the only one that would have been shorter may have been Chamonix in 2014.
Don't forget, if you've got any questions for Commander Jarzibiak, expert climbing coach, owner of a climbing wall.
Well, just say climbing coach, drop the expert, and I'll be fine.
So modest as well. Then get yourself on Twitter, hashtag IFSCWC. So in the overall standings for the women, remember Janja Gambra already clinched the title for this year. There's a bit more to it lower down the order.
I just noticed a question on Twitter from Alison Murphy about why are youth climbers able to climb in both youth and senior. When you are in Youth A at age 16, you age into the Open or Senior World Cup circuit, and it's you sort of start your transition from the end of your youth career to the start of the World Cup circuit.
Thanks for the question, Alison. Hashtag IFSC if you want to get in touch. So, Yuka Kobayashi making her way towards the midpoint of this women's route, a bit like the men's. We've got relatively low angle start by the standards of World Cups, and then it really gets steep horizontal through the roof. And Yuka just trying to figure out if there's a more efficient way of doing this move that's very hard on the shoulders. All about body position, and there we go. Once you find the way, it suddenly looks relatively straightforward. I was about to say earlier on, in terms of the overall podium 2016 World Cups in the women's, Janja Gambrecht's already won. Anak and Jane are the podium. If Anak finishes 6th or higher, then she'll stay in 2nd place, which is where she currently is in the rankings. But if Anak finishes 7th or 8th, Jane can take 2nd overall if she wins here in Kranj. I hope that makes sense. Very confusing. Let's just focus on the action and Yuka Kobayashi on that enormous volume. And here she is already into the steepest section of the route. 2 minutes 40 gone. None of the women are tied here, so time won't be a factor other than potentially timing someone out. You wouldn't have thought that will happen in a wall this size. And Yuki, you could see there was a bit of indecision, trying to work out how or if at all to match that yellow round hold. Not much emotion. Let's have another look. She just caught her index finger as she moved to match her. Let's have a look. You see it hard from that angle. We saw it from the other angle. As she brought her hand to match that hold, she just caught the index finger. It just seemed to take a millisecond longer, and that seemed to cost her. So she sits temporarily, you would imagine, on the red beanbag for the person holding the early lead. Mathilde Becerra will be out next. She held the lead in the semi-final yesterday. Ended up relinquishing it, but qualified in 7th, climbed 2nd in the final.
Mathilde has also had an incredibly strong breakout year. Well, not breakout, she's been climbing obviously for a long time, but whatever changes she's made to her routine this year seem to clearly have paid off.
She's had a really good 2016. First World Cup was back in 2009, Eindhoven. 10th overall in 2015. But yeah, really good year so far.
And currently the French national lead champion, which is quite a difficult title to grab a hold of.
Yeah, there's some countries where being the national champion might not mean quite so much, but the standard of league climbers in France, it's quite a claim. Best result this year of 4th, that was in Arco, also made the final in Briançon. So 3rd final in 7 World Cups, very good year. And a climber you would think almost with nothing to lose, really happy to make a final, anything after that is a bonus. Only seen Yuka Kobayashi so far, but she made it pretty deep into this women's route. The route veers a long way left just after we saw Yuka come off. So it's actually a bit longer than you might initially think on a short wall here in Kranj. Yuka is around halfway. And again, we saw this with Yuka, just trying to figure out the best way of doing this move right without putting too much strain on the shoulder. It's just a case of gradually easing the center of gravity over to the right. Just had a question on Twitter, by the way, hashtag IFSCWC, about how you have the opportunity to meet the climbers at the World Cups. Well, one of the things that's great about the World Cups is you can just wander around the crowd and the athletes are just there milling about. It can often be like a who's who of world climbing just walking to our commentary position. If you do come to a World Cup, I guarantee you won't struggle to pick up autographs. There's only a relatively small area that the athletes go to for isolation. The rest of the time they spend just in the crowd, So get to your nearest World Cup and you will have a full book of autographs by the time you leave, I promise.
Some smart climbing from Mathilde getting through that. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, Charlie.
It's okay. I'm not the only person with commentators curse. Mathilde, she doesn't look too happy with that. We'll see where that gets her. I mean, we saw in the men's route climbers falling low down and looking really disappointed, and ending up quite high in the rankings. Really nicely done on that swing move, but it was this move up here with the right hand that stopped her. We didn't get a close-up. If you are just tuning in, there it is. Yeah, she just didn't quite land the hold. Almost went too far. The pads of her fingers landed just past the key part. We are getting our pictures from Slovenian TV. So as I said earlier, if you don't like the selection of pictures, please direct your questions to the massive and very tough-looking Slovenian director.
From Japan, Kiyo Noguchi.
Our judging panel. But there's the person we want to see, Aki Noguchi. I've really enjoyed watching Akio in league competitions. Really interesting. She's one of the few climbers that I guess you'd still say that bouldering is her strongest discipline, but it's a pretty close run thing these days.
Yeah, it's amazing to see an athlete who can perform well in both.
Quite a high-risk move low down there for the women.
You can see her power in how she executed that. Very little hesitation. Able to check the swing immediately.
So far for Akio, climbing really efficiently, really smoothly. Now just make her way through to this cross-through move that we've seen take a lot of energy out of both climbers so far, but Akio seems to find perhaps not the most efficient way, but certainly efficient enough quite quickly. If you're just tuning in, I've got Commander Jarzibiak alongside me. Canadian coach, climbing gym manager, all-round expert of climbing. She's forgotten more about climbing than most people know.
That would be unfortunate if it was true.
Don't forget, if you've got any questions for her, hashtag IFSC WC, get yourself on Twitter.
I know a lot of the female athletes I work with. You just saw a shot of her manicured hands. A lot of them will do their nails at the start of a competition just to see how far, how much they're degraded by the end of it.
So Keo safely into the lead at this stage. This is the first chance we've had to look at the top half of this women's route. She's into the 4 pink volumes. This section of the wall, I hope you can make it out on your pictures, is not quite plumb horizontal, but not far off. Certainly the steepest part of this route. And we'll just finish watching Aki Noguchi, and after that, I believe we'll be able to speak to Domen Skofic. But we'll just keep an eye on Aki Noguchi because every move takes her further into the lead. And Akio, she looked as if the effort was just beginning to show as she made that long traverse left along the roof, but she's pulled up onto the upper section, the upper third of this route. And despite that slightly awkward clip, I was thinking she might be able to get something resembling a rest on that large volume. And suddenly she's re-found that smooth control style that we had on the lower section of the route. And this will be something resembling a rest. So you've got to kind of push underneath that right-hand volume or lay away. The route setters were saying you can push underneath it to get a rest, but it shows what flexible hips will do.
Sometimes the term rest is misleading. What she's trying to do is calm her heart rate down and get some power back in her forearms. Certainly her core and legs aren't getting much of a rest in this position.
No, I think most climbers, both hamstrings would have snapped about 30 seconds ago, but goes to show what used flexibility is. And Aki Noguchi was making very light work of the vast majority of that route. I will talk more about Akio in a second, because now we can speak to Domen Skofic. Hey Domen, World Cup champion 2016, that doesn't sound too bad.
Oh no, for sure not. I surpassed my expectations, so for sure I'm really happy.
I mean, last year you had a breakthrough, you won a World Cup. I bet you just can't believe this year when you look back on it.
For sure. I mean, for me, for this year, the expectations were. My goal was to be on the podium on the end of the year. So I surpassed my goal just before. 2 counts before the end. I was at least second. So, but of course, I didn't want to give away my victory, and I was for sure very nervous before this comp. But I just can't believe I pulled it off.
Well, you and Jan, you're going to go home, both overall World Cup champions for 2016. Huge congratulations. It's been a pleasure watching you climb this year.
Thanks. It was like a dream, for sure.
That was Domen Skofic. You can see him there, bottom right of your screen, just giving the microphone back. He'll be a happy man. So there we see Aki Noguchi. A very healthy lead, 41. There was only one section really where she looked like she was trying, to be honest. Speaking of people that don't look like they're trying, Jane Kim, it's always a surprise when Jane Kim falls off.
Definitely.
You suddenly realise it required some effort.
She has a very different climbing style from Akio Noguchi.
That would be an understatement, but there's a few quite long moves, particularly this next one here. Just Jane, relatively short and always likes to be in control. Perhaps not a move she would choose low down, but she somehow manages to make even dynamic jumps look like static moves. They never look in doubt. It's extraordinary.
She has always been, along with Mina Markovic, my favorite climber to watch. Just that level of control is still beguiling, incredibly fascinating.
If you can make something difficult look easy, you are a master. And Jane Kim has made some very difficult routes look pretty easy down the years. We actually filmed a feature with her in IMS just after the IMS World Cup, and I belayed her. We were outdoor climbing, and she climbed outside exactly how she climbs in a competition. A machine could have just let out the rope at about a meter every 30 seconds. There was no tugs on the rope when she suddenly needed slack. She just kept up exactly the same pace. It's incredible to watch. Obviously an on-site, only a 7B, just
a walk in the park.
Yeah. There's me dreaming of on-siting 7B. Never mind. think that ship might have sailed. I'll just settle for watching Jane Kim rather than trying to take her on. Again, this is the sort of move that you see Jane Kim really master. It's just about slowly moving your body over to the right, not putting too much pressure on his shoulder as you do it. She did it perfectly. Now this next move out here, she'll go off with the right hand onto the blue in cut. And then it was the move after that to the yellow bolt on that Mathilde Becerra was struggling with and fell on. And you can see it's quite a reach for Jane, not far off the limit of her reach without having to jump. But once she got there, it was never in doubt.
I think when you're at either end of the height spectrum, either very short or very tall, flexibility becomes even more critical. It's incredibly important in the sport, but when you are below or above the average height, it's incredibly important to be able to force your body into strange positions.
It's a lot of climbers' weak points, flexibility. Is it something as a coach that you really try and get them to work on?
Yeah, and one of the things that happened at our facility that really changed perspective was we hosted a IFSC World Climbing Camp a few years ago, and when kids were walking into the gym and seeing Adam Ondra and Domin Škofic and Kai Leitner in full rush of splits, they suddenly got the perspective that it wasn't something the coaches were telling them to do for fun.
Well, we saw that with Akira Noguchi. She managed to cultivate a rest out of a not very restful position to use the hips flexibility. So when you finish your session down the wall, that 10-minute stretching probably be about as useful as climbing an extra couple of routes. So this section here through the pink volumes, this was the only bit where we saw Akira Noguchi look as if she was close to her limit before she fell. And you can see, even for a climber as smooth as Jane, there's a lot of power required when your hands are that far apart. It puts a lot of strain on the shoulders. Winner of 25 Lead World Cups, no less, Jane Kim. And she won't be winning here. And that means that she won't move up in the overall standings. She will be third for 2016 in the World Cups. Be interesting to see that again, if it was a case of accuracy or just a slip. Akira Noguchi can stay on the provisional first place beanbag. Let's have a look. It looked like she actually missed the pocket. Let's have another look. Looked like she went beyond it.
Yeah, that's a shocking miscalculation.
Yeah, she actually went a centimetre or so too far. Such are the margins at this level. Jane Kim, so that'll put her in second place as things stand. But we have a pretty strong 4 climbers still to come. Hannah Schubert, who has looked in superb form recently, Mina Markovic in front of a home crowd. Never count her out. Anik Verhoeven and Janja Garnbret still to come. But for now, Jane is second. And she's speaking to us now. Jane. Jane Kim, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just talk us through the route. It looked as if it was quite dynamic, quite powerful.
Yes, I think it was really hard for me. From the beginning, I didn't expect that was not so hard, but when I'm climbing, it was crazy. And I tried to really concentrate, and yeah, it makes me really pump.
And that move where you fell, did you just miss the pocket?
Yes.
Yeah, so it looked as if you went a bit too far with the left hand.
Sorry?
It looked as if you went a bit too far with your left hand.
I think every move very hard and far for me. And last part, I couldn't control the pocket. Yeah.
Well, it was great to watch, and you're in second place, so go
Yes.
sit down and enjoy the rest of the climbing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jane. Apologies there. The DJ's obviously got a sense of humour here in Kranj. As soon as he sees our live interview light turn on, he cranks up the volume. And the MC seems to join him shouting as well, so the climbers can only hear me through one earphone, so apologies for the occasional communication difficulties. So, as I say, someone's got a sense of humour. We had a question on Twitter earlier on, by the way. Karishma, he wants to know why Jakob finishes below Stefano if he qualified above Stefano. Well, there were 3 climbers tied coming into this final in all around so far, Stefano, Jakob and Domen. So for those 3 climbers, their position in the final, if they got the same score, would be decided on time. So Stefano obviously climbed quicker than Jakob in the final, and that was the deciding factor in the positions.
I am happy to see Hannah Schubert in her first final. I think the second place in lead at the World Youth in China was probably disappointing for her, and fabulous obviously for Margot Hayes. But it must feel good and a little bit redeeming to be here tonight.
Yeah, Hannah, if you haven't seen that final from Youth A, Hannah? Junior. Of course, yeah, 19. Sorry, I'm getting my junior categories mixed up. If you haven't seen the female lead final in the junior category in Guangzhou, it was a really unusual incident where both climbers got timed out on the same hold. So Hannah carried on climbing, possibly didn't realise that she'd been timed out. So it looked like she had a higher score, and there was a bit of confusion why she had the same score as Margot Hayes. Turned out they'd been timed out in exactly the same hold. But Hannah in superb form on the wall and in the commentary box. A lot of people commented they enjoyed hearing her in Guangzhou, but we always prefer to see her climbing. Yeah, she had a good Youth World Championships on the wall and in the commentary box. Strong performances in both. And climbing very well in this final here in Kranj. The moves on that big blue volume that troubled a few of the climbers lower down. No such issues for Hannah. Very determined. And exactly the same hold as Jane. Same move. So Noguchi can stay on the beanbag for first place. Let's have another look. And again, a bit like Jane Kim, just perhaps a centimetre too far. And on a dynamic move like that, where your whole body is moving to the side, if the move takes a millisecond longer than it needs to, and your body shifts just that bit more than you wanted it to, it can throw you off. And I think that's what happened with Hannah. There she is, 31 plus. Moves ahead of Jane on count back to the semi-final results. Yuka Kobayashi, she won't finish her World Cup career with a podium. Guaranteed at least 7th though, Matilda Becerra below her.
I wish I could count how many podiums she's been on so far, but I think it must be at least 9 World Cup bouldering wins.
So the loudest cheer of the day so far in the women's competition, Mina Markovic is out.
And I would say so far I saw about 5 busloads from Janja Ganbrit's hometown come in, so I think the roof is going to go off this place before the night's over. Actually, I think I got that wrong. I was thinking of Akio, not Yuka, when I
Yes.
said that. I apologize.
It's okay. I like fact checking. I get a bit geeked out. If I go quiet for a while, just bring me back, because I get a bit absorbed in all my statistics.
Yeah, no, I saw the Japanese flag and was thinking of the wrong climber. It's been a long season.
It certainly has. So here's Mina. We thought we might not see her after a very dominant 2015, but she kind of realised quite early on this year that actually she loved competing and she didn't want to stop after all. And we've got Hannah Schubert available for a live interview. Hannah, it would have been great to have you on the live stream, but it was great to watch you climb. What was your first World Cup final like?
Oh my God, it was amazing. I can't even describe it. I was so happy to be even in finals. Yesterday was just an amazing day for me. Oh, sorry. I thought I was not seen. Yeah, it was an amazing day, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to climb in this final. And yeah, it was really hard, but it was also how I expected a World Cup final to be. And yes, but I really liked the route, and I fought as hard as I could, but it was really hard.
When you look back, do you feel like you made a mistake, or you gave it everything and you're totally happy with how it went?
I'm totally happy with how it went, because I think also climbing World Cups is all about experience, and nobody expects you to climb like your best in your first final. But I think I kind of messed up the beginning at the blue ball a little bit, like messed around a bit too much. But yeah, I'm satisfied with my climbing, definitely.
Well, a silver medal in the World Youth Championships, now a World Cup final. We can't wait to see you in 2017.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. Can't wait to see everyone.
Thanks, Hannah, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, as I say, Hannah Schubert, amazing 2016, certainly amazing finish. We can focus on Mina Markovic. She won 4 World Cups last year. She hasn't won one this year.
She's struggling a bit to find a comfortable position right now.
She looks in really good shape, Mina. She looked superb in every round. Erin Kranj pretty much cruised into the final. And now she seems to have it sorted. The only problem she's got is that she's now resting at pretty much the steepest part of the wall. She just had a big training block, Mina. Really seems to be paying off. Hopefully beginning to learn this women's lead route. She'll now enter the pink volumes, the traverse left.
We just had a question from, I think, Rixie on Twitter. Is it usually hard to see tops on lead finals? I think the route setters generally would like to see one climber top each of the routes. They definitely don't want multiple tops, but there's no point in setting the top half of the route if no one's going to get there.
So there you go. The goal of the route setters is to get one top per final, but calculating that and making the route just hard enough but not too hard is a pretty fine balance. So Mina Markovic, no issue on that move left of the pocket, very accurate. The move that Jane Kim and Hannah Schubert fell on. So this will put Mina into a comfortable second behind Nakia Noguchi. Two climbers still to come, remember. The familiar figures of Anna Verhoeven and Janja Garnbret. Mina Markovic, as I say, 4 World Cup wins last year, none in 2016. If she could win one, I'm sure this would be the one she'd choose. Home crowd.
Absolutely.
Doesn't like the finger tape, that got torn off.
And you don't get extra marks for taking the tape off while you're on the wall.
I couldn't quite figure out what she was doing actually, but yeah, just ripping the finger tape off her right hand. And this is the part where we saw Aki Noguchi regain some energy. Does Mia have the prerequisite flexibility? It doesn't look like she necessarily wants a rest. She took one a bit lower down. 6 minutes on the clock. No, she will take a rest. Needs to be aware of the time, I would say. Not a huge issue just yet, but 6 minutes down already. Probably doesn't want to hang around too long here. Now then, this is where Akio fell. What can Mina do? The same as Akio. It's that move up to the long, thin yellow hold. This is a nice idea, actually. I like the beanbags. I think we should try this at more World Cups. It's really good to see the top 3 sitting there comparing notes. You can see them there just below the interview backdrop. You see Hannah Schubert stand up. Turf's Jane Kim off the 3rd place because Mina Markovic 2nd place. 40 plus, judged to be on 40 plus as opposed to Kia Noguchi's 41. We see a replay of those two alongside each other a bit later on. You'll see why. And I think I caught a glimpse. That was caught a glimpse of Aki Noguchi in front of the interview backdrop. I think she's being interviewed for Slovenian TV. Unfortunately, not for us. We'll try and catch a word with her. Commander, for people that might be watching league climbing for the first time, with climbing heading to the Olympics, just explain the scoring system and the plus system. What does it mean if you have 40 plus as opposed to 41?
Plus, without a plus, just a 40, for example. A 40 is the scoring, that's the number of the hold, a sequential number of the hold. Neutral of 40 would mean that you controlled that hold and were able to establish a body position on it. A 40 plus would mean that you were able to move your body, including likely one hand, in the direction of the route. So not just take your hand off and wave it around, but actually move your center of gravity and your hand into in a direction that would give you progress towards the top of the route.
Yeah, and it's not good enough as you fall just to slap upwards and claim you should get a plus. You have to actually move towards the next hole, as we say. And there's an element of judgment, which is why we have a judging team at World Cups. It's not always clear cut.
And the rules allow for that. What they want is to see consistency in judging on that one route.
So Anak Verhoeven, what a 2016 she's had. How many climbs have we seen had about today? Won a World Cup in Arco, but so many times second to Janja Garnbret. I should let you know actually that in the semi-final, Janja Garnbret topped the route and Anak came incredibly close to topping it but didn't quite manage it. And given how many times countback has been a factor in, particularly in the women's lead World Cups in 2016, I fear that might come back to haunt Anak. I hope it doesn't, but it's haunted her a few times in 2016.
Kim Jae-in and Mina Markovic had this legendary rivalry going, and I foresee a similar rivalry developing between Janja and Anak over the years.
Yeah, Anak had 6 podiums, I think it was, before she won in Arco. finally got the breakthrough, but then was about as close as you can come to winning a World Championship in Paris. Just pipped by Yannick Armbrecht. As you say, I think we could be seeing the early days of a long-running rivalry in women's league climbing. And I believe we're going to be able to speak to Mina Markovic in a minute or so, but now we'll concentrate on Anak.
And when I say rivalry, I mean it in the friendliest way possible. There is nothing but camaraderie and respect between the climbers at this level.
And we've got Mina Markovic there.
Hey.
Hey Mina, you look super strong all weekend. Just tell us how the final route was.
Yeah, the final route was really interesting. I think the route setter did a really good and nice job. So it was really nice. Maybe not totally my style, but I still like it, and I tried to climb my best. So I'm quite happy.
And if someone is going to top the route, what do you think is the key? Is it endurance? Is it route reading? What will be the most important thing?
I think route reading and go for the moves. So I definitely believe that the girls out there are able to top it out. So I will be really enjoy to watch it.
Us too. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you.
So Mina Markovic saying, need to read the route well and really go for the moves, believe in the moves. Anna Verhoeven, she always has a kind of certain style of climbing. She always looks pretty assured in her movements. You don't often see her kind of back down and question what she's doing. So from Mina's description, this could be a route that suits her.
She is a very confident and decisive climber.
Decisive, that was the word I was looking for. Certain. Wow.
My day job includes writing.
So does mine. Oh dear. What school did you went to when you was a jewel? So Anna Verhoeven into the pink volumes. Launching out left. Again, a bit like Mina, I don't think she'd be necessarily worried about time, but 4 minutes already on the clock. Still yet to do the traverse under the roof.
Anak is one of the competitors that does wear a watch. You can see it on her left arm there in that shot. And you will see her check it to see where she is.
We have seen her timed out this year in Imst. So she'll be aware that she needs to keep moving. Time not usually an issue here in Kranj. It is a short wall, around 12 meters, but the women's route really wanders. They've added at least 3 or 4 meters of climbing just from all the traverses.
Absolutely.
So the move to the pocket that stopped Jane Kim and Hannah Schubert, no problem for Anak. Just resetting. She's going to do that move again. That's how confident she is. I think you can see it slightly there, the difference being a bit taller makes. That move to the pocket looked much more straightforward for her. And again, she'll do it for a third time. We had a question on Twitter actually regarding Akira Noguchi. Has she ever won a Lead World Cup? The answer is no.
I do remember her on a podium in Sydney, Australia in 2008 maybe, but that wasn't a World Cup. That would have been a World Youth.
Yeah, these people asking the questions are just leading us into geekiness. I don't need any encouragement.
I was going to say, it's sad that I can remember podiums from Sydney, but I may be remembering them wrong.
Yes, female juniors lead in Sydney 2008. I cede to your geekiness. So Anna Verhoeven, we've seen Mina Markovic, Anna Kiyonaguchi both rest here, but Anna doesn't take the rest and doesn't need it. 007.
It's a great number for her, hopefully.
Well, she was the only climber of the three we've seen reach this stage that didn't take a relatively long rest on top of the pink volumes, but she was then the only climber that stuck the move. Again, time might be playing on her mind.
I think so. The top section of the route looks a little difficult to read, and you'd want to leave yourself some time in case you need it.
So this is our first chance to see the last 7 or 8 moves on this women's final route. Anna just lining up the move to the big ball. This is where it starts to get really physical. You've done a lot of moves. And it doesn't ease off.
Oh. Good push.
So Anna will take the lead. Can she hold it while Janja Garnbret climbs? And she just has a look at her watch. She didn't get timed out, 30 seconds to spare. So yeah, speaking of Kiyonaguchi, she hasn't won a lead World Cup, but as you rightly say, a youth lead World Championships. So you see there, Anna Verhoeven, 42 plus.
What you probably haven't seen on the stream is the signs all over the venue cheering on Janja Garnbret and the crowds of people that have come in for her from her hometown to cheer her onto the top today.
And we've got Anak fresh down from the wall. Anak, can you hear me?
Excuse me?
We'll give you 1 minute. Okay, as Janja Garnbret takes the wall, we'll try again. Anna, can you hear me now? Just tell us how the route was. It looked like it was taking you quite a long time. We could see you checking your watch. The wall is only short, but it's a lot of moves.
Exactly. I wanted to climb quickly, but then I realized that there were some tricky moves and I had to be careful to be able to continue, and that's why I decided to slow down and take my time to do the movements and rest a little bit and then continue.
And it looked as if the whole route is really physical. Is that how it feels when you're climbing? There's not really many good rests.
Exactly, that's what it is.
And what do you think the key to the route is? Just endurance, or do you think you got some of the sequences wrong?
I think it's, as always with climbing, it's a mix of lots of things, but for this route it's certainly balance and knowing how to take the holds and endurance, for sure.
Okay, will you hold the lead for now? We'll let you go and watch. Okay. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, as I say, apologies again, the DJ, sense of humour kicking in. I think we just need to wait a minute longer before we do our interviews. So Janja Garnbret is on the wall. She's already overall World Cup champion for 2016. Anna Verhoeven has just cemented second place overall.
I'm really curious, by the way, about the scoring. It shows Anak at 42 plus, which is a move and a plus beyond the Kiyonaguchi, and that's not my recollection. So I'm wondering if that was a transcription error or just the judges inputting the wrong numbers.
Yeah, just so you know, if you were looking at the scorecard and you saw Anak only being 1.5 moves further on, or one and a plus moves further on than Akio, I have asked someone to let me know why that is, because to me it was, I'm just looking at the top section of the wall, 6, 7 moves more, certainly more than one. Well, so we'll find out for you and let you know. It doesn't affect the standings. Anak is showing up as being in first place, but certainly further ahead than the scores are showing.
It doesn't happen often, but sometimes there is just a simple transcription error when the judges input the scores into their tablets.
This Slovenian crowd now watching their local hero, Janja Garnbret. You were saying that she's had a few supporters bust in from her hometown.
Which is on the other side of Slovenia. That sounds impressive, but it's not an extraordinarily large country.
It's not like coming from Halifax if you live in Vancouver.
No. I think the country is about 23,000 square kilometers or so.
But yeah, Janja said there's, what did she say, 5 busloads of fans from her hometown have been shipped over here to watch her claim the overall title and quite possibly the World Cup win here in Kranj.
She is just an extraordinary athlete.
It's the calmness that is disarming. We've just seen some of the world's best climbers either not make it to this point or struggle to make it to this point. And Janja slips a bit lower than most of the crowd would have been expecting. You almost expect Janja Garnbret to win these days.
Certain.
But no, Anak will win. I'm not surprised. My surprise is not because Anak is not a fantastic climber. We're just so used to seeing Janja Garnbret cruising up routes, and she cruised up until that point.
There was no sign that she was struggling physically, certainly at that juncture.
Be interesting to see her final move again.
It is shockingly quiet in here right now.
Yeah, no one quite knows what to make of that. It says a lot that you can get so high on the route to stop some of the world's best climbers, and the crowd are silenced by it. If you can hear something in the background, by the way, that's Janja Garnbret being interviewed for Slovenian TV, and there we see the fall. I think it looked as if she had the best bit of the hold, but perhaps didn't. So she won't finish her extraordinary 2016 with a World Cup win. And we see there the scores, Anak Verhoeven. She will win here in Kranj. We're just trying to find out why she's only being shown as a move and a plus ahead of Aki Noguchi. Janja Garnbret will take third. Count back to the previous round gets her ahead of Mina Markovic. Meanwhile, Hannah Schubert and Jane Kim tied on 31 plus. That move left to the pocket, defeating them. Yuka Kobayashi, she takes 7th in her last ever World Cup, and Mathilde Becerra is 8th. And we'll reconfirm the men's results for you. Here they come. Sebastian Halenki, the happiest man in this hall, I think.
Absolutely.
Probably still hugging people down the front. He'll be followed onto the podium by Domen Skofic, who claims the overall title for 2016. Jakob Schubert is 3rd, 10th final in a row he's made here in Kranj. Stefano Gasolfi, Dimitri Fakirinov, Urban Primozic, who enters retirement after today, Roman de Grange, and Yuki Hado make up the rest of the men's top 8. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have no less than 6 podiums now. We're going to have the awarding ceremony for today's World Cup in Kranj, as well as the overall World Cup winners in male and female, and then the combined in male and female. And I believe that very shortly we're going to be able to speak to Anak Verhoeven for a second time. Anak, welcome back. We were only talking 5 minutes ago. Your emotion must have changed a lot in 5 minutes.
That's true. Yeah, I wasn't sure that I was going to win, of course, because Janja is so strong. But yeah, that's how it is now. I would like to talk to her and see how she was feeling, because I think she fell too early. So.
What do you mean she fell too early? You think she made a mistake or maybe just wasn't concentrating? What did you think when you were watching?
I'm not sure. That's why I want to talk to her later on, but I think she wasn't tired yet.
But you've won 2 World Cups in 2016. Yeah. What is your goal for next year, and what is your plan before 2017 to try and win more World Cups, maybe the overall? What's your plan?
Well, I think it will stay the same as this year, just try to climb as well as possible and win, of course, but you can never control that, but that's my goal in every competition, and I would like to go rock climbing too. Maybe after this competition I will see how I'm feeling, how my body feels after such a long season.
Well, it was fantastic to watch you today. Congratulations, 2nd World Cup win in 2016.
Thank you.
Yeah, big thanks to Anak. Apologies there for the people walking across the shot. It's amazing that a camera and a massive great light and a microphone don't give people a hint, but there we go. Not the first time it's happened this season, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
And that was the event organizer, I believe, who walked through. And having organized events like this before at this stage, you pretty much don't notice anything. There could be a herd of elephants stampeding, and as an event organizer, I would be completely oblivious.
Yeah, the coffee machine doing a roaring trade here in Kranj, particularly amongst the organisers and route setters. But yeah, apologies for them walking into the shop. And we've got Janja Garnbret on the line.
Hey.
Janja, you've had the most incredible year. You couldn't quite finish it with a win. Right now, do you feel disappointed, or are you just happy with 2016?
Yeah, it's been an amazing year, so I'm not quite disappointed about my performance here. But still, it would be nice to win in front of the home public, but still, I won the overall, so I'm not even disappointed.
And it looked on the final move as if you found the right part of the hole. Just tell us what happened when you fell.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just so nervous a bit. But yeah, I slipped, and if I wouldn't slip, I would probably get a lot higher, maybe even top the route. Yeah, but still, I'm happy.
I'm interested to hear you say you were nervous. Were you more nervous today than in the World Championships, for example?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, congratulations. I'm sorry 2016 didn't have the absolutely perfect end, but it's been a pretty good year.
Thank you so much.
And Luca, the local cameraman, I think might have been trying to distract Janja Garnbret during that interview. The cameraman here in Slovenia would be great fun, actually, but I could see just as we started the interview, she was obviously someone pulling faces or doing something to distract her, but very happy Janja Garnbret. Interesting to hear how much pressure she felt under there in front of a home crowd.
It really does throw things off. One of the keys, as you know, to high performance athletics is to have a routine and be consistent in that routine, and sometimes being at home doesn't always lend to that consistency.
You see it in all sports, teams that play better away from home or away from their own supporters. Interesting, but I think Janja described it as a slip on the hole, and I think it was just a slip, but interesting to hear that she was so nervous. It'd be fair to say the crowd was definitely supporting her, but she'll finish 2016 pretty happy, I'd have said, for 17 years old, world champion, overall World Cup winner, and youth world champion in 2 disciplines. I'm sure she'll get over it.
I think so. That was I think is rare in climbing history that you can win both an open and a junior world championship in the same season, months apart.
You see the crowd just beginning to thin out. I don't think they've quite realised that the podium ceremonies are to come.
I did that, or the beer stand opened outside.
There is our wall. Unfortunately, neither route topped in men's and women's. In the semi-finals yesterday, we had 6 tops in the men's. The route setters, I think, felt they'd made it. They perhaps slightly undercooked the route.
Might look back and feel they overcooked this one, but it is the impossible job, route setting.
I do think that route setters take a huge amount of criticism for a job that is pretty challenging.
It's actually interesting. It's good timing. Hopefully we can say this before the men's podium takes place. But we had an interesting question yesterday on Twitter. I'm sorry, I forget who it was from. And they were saying, what is the route setting process and how long does it take? So you've been involved with the hosting of World Cups before. How long before the event do the route setters arrive, and how long would it take them to set, for example, a final route?
It depends on how much time you have in the venue. I would say, for example, in Paris, the route setting for Paris for the World Championships actually started in Chamonix in July. And so if it's a big event, they're going to take as long as possible to try and have the best result. A place like this, they likely came in on Monday or Tuesday for a Saturday start.
I have to say, if you ever get the chance to come to a World Cup venue before the competition commences, it's amazing to watch the route setters, the detail they go into, every hold, every position of every hold, how much to turn it, everything gets debated to the nth degree. If they do make a mistake, it's certainly not through lack of trying. And they put on a superb show today, albeit one that didn't provide us with any tops. So we're straight into the podium for today's competition. Look at that smile, Sebastian Halenke. You can't believe it. Yes, Jakob Schubert looks, satisfied. Not over the moon.
Climbers are like any other professional athlete, incredibly high expectations, and they know what they can do, and when they come short, it's hard.
He has won here twice before. Jakob collects another podium. Third place today.
Drugo mesto je danes zaslužil bronze medalist, silver medalist representing Slovenia, gospod Domen Škofic.
Domen Škofic, big cheer from the Slovenian crowd. He takes a silver medal. The first half of the season certainly went better for him than the second half, but he stayed in the race, done what he needed to do to claim the overall title. Today he takes silver. He'll be back on the top step of the podium a bit later on for the overall podium. Well, a bit like the videos you see of puppies and kittens on YouTube that are supposed to make you happy, supposed to make you feel happy when you feel bad. Watch this. This will bring a smile to any face. Sebastian Halenke. World Cup winner, the happiest man in Kranj, if not Slovenia, Europe, the world.
I couldn't be happier for him.
As I say, you don't need to look at motivational videos or anything like that, just watch this. He's worked hard for that moment, and he gets his reward. It's the German national anthem. Sebastian Halenki. World Cup winner, joined on the podium by Domin Skovic and Jakob Schubert.
I'm a little disappointed that his parents couldn't be here to see it. I've spent some time talking to his mom via Google Translate at the last few comps this year, and I know they've lived the highs and lows with him.
Medals represented by Marcos Kolanis, president of the IFSC,
We now have the women's podium. I said in the semi-finals yesterday, Kia Noguchi looking really good in lead. She's onto a podium.
Bronze medalist representing Japan. Pardon, bronze medalist representing Slovenia.
I was going to say.
Janja Garabrecht.
So Janja Garabrecht takes a bronze medal today, not the colour she's used to receiving in 2016. Just slipped. It would have been interesting to see how she would have fared on the upper part of the route. Unfortunately, we didn't get the chance. Third place.
Silver medal representing Japan, Kia Noguchi.
Kia Noguchi, silver medal. I think she was. I had her down as a bit of an outside bet to win here. Silver, superb result. Just to let you know, I believe the scores have been updated. Annax Verhoeven's score is now showing us 48 plus, which just sounds a bit more like it. And there's the lady herself. Either way, it doesn't affect the result, but she certainly did more than one move more than the Kuo. Don't think she'll mind how many she wins by. The most important thing is to be standing on that top step. There's Anna Verhoeven, gold medal.
So we are rating first three men overall ranking. Lead sport climbing. Here they go.
So let's see which podium we're on next. I'm afraid I couldn't hear the MC. There we are. It must be overall.
It is the
for the lead.
For lead, yes.
So after this we'll have the combined podiums. So these are the overall for the Lead World Cups 2016. Apologies, I couldn't hear the venue MC.
Bronze medalist. We have Romain Desgrange, France.
So Romain Desgrange won a World Cup this year in Arco. Takes third overall for 2016.
And the oldest male competitor in the finals today, I believe, showing that it's not just a young person's game, although old is relative.
Jakob, second time on the podium today. And this time it's to claim second in the overall lead World Cups 2016.
And I believe he'll be on the podium a third time in the combined rankings.
Yes.
Gold medalist represent Slovenia.
World Cup champion 2016, Domen Skopvic. He flew out of the blocks early season. And although his form just slightly tailed off, he's done more than enough. A very well-deserved title. He made the breakthrough, won his first World Cup last year. Wanted a World Cup win this year. Well, he got that and more.
Nationality of Slovenia.
Here is the Slovenian national anthem. Domen raises the trophy into the sky, the crowd applauds. And he is lead World Cup champion 2016. So up next, we'll have the overall World Cup champion 2016 in the lead for the female climbers.
This must be the first time in a long time that Mina Markovic isn't amongst those three at the end of a lead World Cup season.
Korea,
Jen Kim, third place overall. She's had so many third place finishes this year. And really the podium that we could see now has been the result of so many of the events this year. Jane in third, Anak second, Yanni in first. Wasn't the way it went today, but it often has been this season. Anna Verhoeven second place overall in the lead World Cups and 2 World Cup wins. Not a bad year at the office.
Gold medalist represents Slovenia, Janja Garapre.
Janja Garapre, she sealed this win in Xiamen a month or so ago. Finally gets her hands on the trophy, one of many she's had this year. Here, once again, the Slovenian national anthem. Janja can barely contain her emotions. It's just been an almost unprecedented year from a climber, especially for a 17-year-old.
Absolutely.
It's been the year of Janja 2016. And I suspect it might not be the last one.
I think you're right, although I do think next year with Ashima gets a little more interesting.
Medals represented by Marcos Colaris and Bojan Rotovnik, ze Slovenije. Bronze medalist representing Japan, Fuji Kokoro.
So this for the combined title for 2016. In third place, Kokoro Fuji. Had his most of his success in bouldering. Also some really impressive lead performances. Nets him third on the podium for the combined. Jakob, he's won World Cups in lead and boulder. Super consistent climber. Second place. And on the top step, a man you know well. It must be very gratifying for you to see Sean on the top once again, combined champion.
It is. He is just one of those talented athletes who could probably succeed in multiple sports. That was so lovely for me to watch. And also, not often you see Sean try not to cry.
No, he's a very impressive guy, Sean McCalter. To attempt so many World Cups, it's a lot of time on the road, a lot of time in hotels and in airport departure lounges. His dedication is really impressive. And there's his reward.
Climbing World Cup combined 2016.
Of course, he won a World Cup this year back in Vila.
That was a lovely event too. Yeah.
So the combined for 2016 in the female climbers, as you were for Janja and Akio a few minutes ago, Jessica Pilz takes third place. She was suffering slightly with a bit of an illness and the tail end of an injury here in Kranj, so we didn't see the best of her this weekend. But third place in the combined.
Japan, this is Akio Noguchi.
Noguchi second overall. What a year it's been in the IFSC this year.
Zlata medalja, gold medalist represented Slovenia, Janja Garambret.
And Janja Garambret, the second time in 5 minutes. She's on top of the podium here at Kranj.
So that's World Senior Lead Champion, World Junior Lead in Boulder, Lead World Cup overall season, and then combined. That's quite the haul.
An amazing end to an amazing year. Commander, thank you very much for your help today.
That was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
We're coming to this final event 2016 in Kranj. Vielen Dank für deinen Besuch. Najlepša hvala ob tej podpori, ob tej lepi zgodbi, ki se je danes končala tukaj v Kranju. Janja Garme, Domen Škofic, same znate legende, ki potujejo prav tako naprej.
So after 16 World Cups, the World Championships and the Youth World Championships, the IFSC season 2016 is over. Big thank you to everyone who has been involved from start to finish, especially the guys at OBS Media for all their work. 2017 promises to be even bigger and better. We'll see you in April.